What's up everyone, this is FP Sticks bringing you some more Go Battle League battles here in the Great League, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing a bunch of kind of difficult battles I had running this very bulky and fun team of Cresselia, Snorlax, and Obstagoon in the back. So I am running Psycho Cut on my Cresselia for fast energy generation. I'm using Snorlax as the safe swap here. You could also use Munchlax or any of the other lick users like Lickitung if you're working on an XL Lickitung or even Licky Licky. And then Obstagoon in the back. I'm actually running a Hyper Beam on the Obstagoon just for fun here, and if I'm able to get shields down, it's some fun nuke potential. But the thought process behind this team is Cresselia is going to struggle against like Steel types and Alolan Marowak. And so Snorlax with Superpower, having that charge move of Superpower offers me good coverage against those Steel types, as well as kind of a lot of neutral matchups, and the lick damage really adds up against any of the ghost types that might come in. Same with like against the Sableye, and then Obstagoon is going to be the hard counter to any Steel type that tries to switch in, or any dark type like that. Obstagoon is going to be the hard counter there. So let's jump right into these battles. I did 2 sets with this team, kind of just feeling it out and having some fun running some new teams. There were some matches here where my team just absolutely hard countered my opponent's team, and then obviously the other way around where I just got hard countered. But then there was a lot of games in here where if I would have made like 1 or 2 different gameplay decisions, the outcome would have been slightly different. And I was very surprised at how many opposing Cresselias I was running into while I was using this team. Because I like just started using Cresselia. I just started running this team, and then I started seeing all these Cresselias on my opponent's team as well, which is kind of funny. But I brought Snorlax onto the Cresselia because Snorlax will not be taking super effective damage from many of Cresselia's charge moves, whereas Obstagoon kind of has to watch out for the Moonblast. And Cresselia on a Shadow Machamp is a very powerful matchup for Cresselia. If this is a payback, it's going to do so much damage, but I took the risk. It's just a Rock Slide. In the back is a Skarmory. This is a fine matchup for Obstagoon in the 2 shield, and obviously if you get the Night Slash boost, then it's just very, very favorable for Obstagoon. But the timing of the charge moves is very important here. Once again, if you have not checked out my video on fast move alignment and charge move timing, make sure to check it out. I do go in depth on all these different ratios of fast move alignment here to really ensure that your opponent doesn't get a whole bunch of free energy through. So I'm going to throw the Night Slash right there. But this is very solid alignment in my favor. They swapped in the Machamp right there. I'm able to bring out the Cress. And unfortunately, there's really nothing that this Machamp can do. I easily survive Cross Chop from this range. The counters are adding up though, and Psycho Cut really doesn't do that much damage. It's more so high energy generation. But really big shout out to my opponent for making that matchup very close, despite my team kind of hard countering them all the way through. So Venusaur in the lead is not great because both of my charge moves from Cresselia hit for resisted damage. So I just swap into Snorlax immediately, but unfortunately my opponent is staying in here, which is very bad for me because this actually is a favorable matchup for Venusaur in all even shielding scenarios. I was really hoping that they would switch out eventually, but they are not. So I actually have to commit my second shield here. I really want to get some shields off of my opponent, but if they double shield, I know that I will lose this matchup here. Not able to get to this Body Slam, and this Frenzy Plant is just barely going to be enough to take out Snorlax. Snorlax is slightly less bulky than Munchlax, but I do like the coverage that Superpower offers you. Able to farm it down. It's a Sableye in the back, so the Moonblast from Cresselia is going to be hitting for a lot of damage here. It doesn't one-shot a Sableye, but it does do a lot of damage. I really tried to catch a foul play right there, but my opponent was smart and did not throw. Because I don't have Cross Chop on my Obstagoon here, this isn't as favorable of a matchup. The funny thing is, like, when I was running Cross Chop, I kept running into scenarios where I needed like a stronger neutral hitting move like Gunk Shot or Hyper Beam, and then when I had Gunk Shot, I kept running into scenarios where I needed Cross Chop. So like I finally just ended up settling with Hyper Beam just for some fun nuke potential in the end game, but my opponent makes a nice swap right there, and I accidentally click a Psycho Cut instead of going for a charge move. At this point, I did need to overfarm a little bit more, but the Shadow Claws would have done too much damage, and unfortunately I don't have enough energy to throw at this G-Fisk, and even so, I think G-Fisk would have won CMP, so my opponent played that very, very well. Good game. Venusaur lead, definitely tough to come back from. Drift Blim lead, definitely tough. I'm going to switch into my Snorlax, and it's hard punished by a Medicham, but the nice thing is that the lick damage is at least hitting for super effective on the Medicham. Now, my opponent has built up a lot of energy here. I was assuming that this was going to be a Psychic, so I shield, and it's a Dynamic Punch. Oh man, it feels so bad. It feels so bad to shield up a power-up punch. But I wanted to guarantee that I could get this second Body Slam off so I can at least burn a shield from the Medicham. So I get farmed down, not ideal. Luckily, I will resist all of Medicham's moves here, because I'm assuming they're running Power Up Punch Psychic. I know this Psychic is going to do a big chunk of damage though. They're double boosted, and my defense falls. Very, very unfortunate for me. So I just have to throw this Grass Knot to get rid of the Medicham, and then hope that my Obstagoon can do something in the back. It's an Azumarill in the back, so I was unfortunately kind of hard countered at every turn with this lineup. I'm going to go for the Hyper Beam. Gonna go for it. And it gets shielded. So there is absolutely nothing that I can do at this point. My opponent made all the correct calls and had all of the counters aligned in their favor. So very solid alignment for them. And that team of Drifblim, Medicham, Azumarill was actually a team that I featured towards the end of Season 6. Very, very strong team. One of my patrons, Kimley Horn, climbed very high on the leaderboard with that team. So I'm getting the spinning wheel in the top left, and I see that my opponent is not moving. But the thing with this game is that you never know if it's purely visual lag or if your opponent is actually lagging. And so as much as it sucks, my general rule of thumb in Go Battle League is just continue tapping, because I mean, as we all know, sometimes your opponent may not appear to be moving, but then like the game reverts back to normal and they got all this free energy. So my general rule of thumb is just keep tapping, and like sometimes you get absolutely screwed by the lag and it really sucks, and sometimes your opponent gets screwed by the lag and that also really sucks. It doesn't feel good to have an advantage like that, but until Niantic gets consistent servers, or like if this was like an in-person Sylph tournament, obviously the rules are totally different there, because you're able to communicate with your opponent in real time and be like, hey, I'm lagging, see, I'm tapping my phone and nothing's happening. But unfortunately, when it's all remotely like this, you just never know. But they bring out G-Fisk, and having Grass Knot on Cress is pretty nice here, because it takes about 3 Grass Knots plus the Psycho Cut damage to take this thing out. I catch an Earthquake on my Snorlax, kind of a debatable play there. Both Cresselia and Snorlax are going to kind of equally hang against this G-Fisk, so I was kind of unsure of where to spend my shield, and then I end up getting baited by a Rock Slide there, which does not feel great. But I'm just going to throw this Body Slam. It does get shielded. They switch into the Pelipper, and I'm barely able to get to this Body Slam before they're able to get to another Weather Ball. We get some nice lag again, staring at my Snorlax here. Alright, down goes the Pelipper. Still lagging. The servers definitely have not been nearly as solid since the beginning of the season started, because more and more people are playing. Who knows when Niantic will upgrade their servers? Who knows? Defense Deoxys in the lead. So this is a somewhat neutral matchup, but it is in Cresselia's favor, because these Moonblast the Moonblast and the Grass Knot hit for a lot more damage than like a Thunderbolt or a Rock Slide from this Deoxys. So, and I believe that I play this the correct way. I think the correct play is 1 Moonblast, and I like to throw it first just in case they get the attack debuff. 1 Moonblast and then 2 Grass Knots, and that should be just enough damage to take out the Defense Deoxys. I can overfarm here a little bit, but they actually switch into a G-Fisk to catch this Grass Knot. Really nice play by them. But I can get my Obstagoon on this. It is somewhat important that I correctly shield up an Earthquake here, though, because this G-Fist can still output a lot of damage. And I want to be able to farm this down without getting hit by another charge move. So I will shield up this Earthquake, and I really want to be able to counter down before I get hit by something that's good for me. If the Deoxys comes back in, I don't want to really take any counter damage, and I can't farm it down. It's an Azumarill, and so I know they're keeping track of my energy. They attempt a sack swap on the Deoxys, but I was going to throw a Night Slash on the Deoxys anyways, so... Alright, 2 shields are up. Let's just go for the Hyper Beam and see what happens. I don't think I landed a single successful Hyper Beam all day running this team, or for the 2 sets that I played it, but yeah, I'm still in a decent spot here. I don't know what the secondary move on their Azumarill is, but they are building up to like Hydro Pump's worth of energy here and bluffing. So I am concerned that they might still have the Hydro Pump. My Cresselia is healthy enough that it should still be able to reach a Grass Knot. I'm throwing these Body Slams to try to burn that last shield and just continue chipping away at this Azumarill. I'm able to get to this Body Slam right here. It's not going to be enough to knock it out. Very close though. Let's see it. Do they have Hydro Pump? They had Hydro Pump the whole time, and they baited me like twice. So props to my opponent there. Good game. Cress into Obstagoon. Okay, this is why having Psycho Cut is very nice, because I'm able to get to these Moonblasts fairly quickly. If I had Confusion, this would just be game over, because as you can see, my team is very weak to Obstagoon. The back line is double weak to fighting types. But if you know anything about ABB teams, it doesn't matter if you have a double weakness to something in the back. It is on you to make sure that you can bait out that weakness. They come in with a Steel Wing Skarmory. This definitely threw me for a loop. At this point, I really don't know how I'm going to handle that Obstagoon. It's still so healthy. And because I don't have Cross Chop on my Obstagoon here, I really don't have any way of taking that thing out unless I can get shields down and then land a superpower on it with my Snorlax. They let the Skarm go down. I have loaded energy. They actually bring in Venusaur here, so I really need to be able to burn the shield to put me in a better position for the back line. So I'm really hoping I get a shield here. I do, that's good for me, and I get the boost, so this kind of forces them to throw energy sooner than they would have liked. At this point, I just need to have enough residual energy stored that I can knock out this Venusaur with a Body Slam, and then also reach a superpower on the Obstagoon. I do make kind of a bad play right here. I should not have thrown superpower immediately. I should have continued to overfarm against this Obstagoon, because the charge moves from the Obstagoon weren't super threatening. They would have gotten to like a cross chop at worst, but I was still able to take that game. Politoed in the lead. This Politoed is so dang spammy, and even though I have Grass Knot, the Politoed is just easily going to outpace my Cresselia. So I throw this Moonblast, and then I swap into my Snorlax. This matchup does not go nearly as good as the previous matchup where I had my Snorlax on the Cress. Gonna throw this Body Slam here, but it's not gonna be enough to take out the Cress. And I'm worried that Moonblast might take me out here. In hindsight, I should not have shielded that. Plus my attack gets dropped right there, which is really, really bad for me. I know I'll survive this Weather Ball just barely, but because my attack was dropped, this is just not great. I also should have went for superpower right here, because I'm only going to be able to get off one move. So definitely some mistakes being made on my part. This Politoed has so much energy. It is a Skarmory in the back. That is what I was originally anticipating when I was playing against this team. They have a shield advantage. I'm in a very, very tough spot here. I knew it was just a Sky Attack, so I didn't need to shield that first one. But the Politoed has so much energy, and most likely my opponent is going to save both shields for their Politoed, and there's no way that my Cresselia can keep up. And I know Politoed will win CMP against my Obstagoon, so I can't even shield that right there because all the energy would have gone to waste. Out comes the Politoed. The Skarmory doesn't quite have a move stored yet. They're like 2 air slashes away, but I somehow need to leave this with enough stored energy to throw a Grass Knot on the Skarm, because I'm not going to be able to Psycho Cut it down, but the Politoed has too much energy. I cannot keep up with this thing. I cannot keep up at all. So I built a back-to-back. Gonna throw this Grass Knot here. I can't even overfarm because the Politoed is like 2 mud shots away from getting to another move. So I just have to get rid of this Politoed. My opponent played so well. Out comes the Skarmory. I'm barely not able to Psycho Cut it down. The shield advantage that they got in the secondary matchup, the fact that my attack got debuffed, that definitely put me in some tough spots there, but my opponent played very, very well. Good game. Another Drift Blim lead, not great for me. Gonna switch in my Snorlax here. Politoed again. I am so surprised at how many neutral matchups Politoed just wins because of its spamminess. Like, these weather balls really add up. They actually go for Earthquake on the first one because they figured that I wouldn't be inclined to shield it, and they were correct. I didn't shield right here because I know I'm going to be outpaced anyway, so it would have been a wasted shield, plus I lose CMP against the Politoed most likely. So I get farmed down. That's not great, but I will at least be able to Psycho Cut this thing down and potentially rip off a move on the Drift Blim. Gonna get hit by another Weather Ball. Politoed is a monster. But I'm gonna Psycho Cut this thing down. They actually give up Swap and switch into their Drift Blim right away, so I'm able to bring my Obstagoon on this. But the only reason that they would do this is if they have another response to Cress in the back. So it definitely has me worried. If it's like a Skarmory or like a Bastion or something, I'm totally screwed. But we'll just have to see. I'm staying in here. I'm trying to get as much chip damage off on this balloon as possible. They still have the Politoed at low health, but with hardly any energy. But I have not seen their third Pokemon, and they still have 2 shields, so I'm in a very tough spot here. They switch into Scrafty. So I have to bait with this Grass Knot. I actually have to double bait. I'm at Moonblast Energy, which will one-shot the Scrafty. Unbelievable call by my opponent. Very gutsy call. If I would have landed the Moonblast there, I just automatically win. But they made a correct call. They called my bait, and that was a really, really amazing play by my opponent there. Good game. All right, so I kind of got hard countered in the previous game, and in this game, you're going to see the reverse effect. Cress into Toxicroak, unbelievably favorable lead. Obstagoon on Umbreon, very favorable. There's no way that the Umbreon is ever going to shield in this matchup, so I'm going to go straight for the Hyper Beam. And it does land. Finally, I'm able to land 1 Hyper Beam. Can you believe that Umbreon survives that, like, easily? That's stab Hyper Beam, and they tank it easily. So most likely the Toxicroak is going to come back in and get farm, but that's okay. Because Cresselia is so bulky, it's just going to shut down all this energy. It's a Slowbro in the back. Snorlax has a positive matchup against this. It's also a Water Gun Slowbro. I kind of like Water Gun Slowbro. I really enjoyed it in the Love Cup, and I think in the Kanto Cup it also has a lot of play. You're at least able to hit for neutral against a lot of those like dark types, so do more neutral damage there, but there's unfortunately nothing that my opponent can do here. Because I'm just going to farm them all the way down, get a Body Slam off on the Toxicroak, which is going to do a lot of damage. Toxicroak is pretty glassy. I get the final shield. I'm just going to swap into Cress, and I can no-shield whatever this is, even if it's a Sludge Bomb. Cresselia can easily tank it. Gonna get this Moonblast. It only hits for neutral, but then the Psycho Cuts add up, and that was just very favorable team comp in my favor there. Alright, Abomasnow lead. So obviously this thing outpaces Cress, but my opponent's going like straight for Weather Ball here. So I go for the Moonblast. Abomasnow can easily tank one. but they shield. So I'm just going to swap right away because I was worried that there would be an Azumarill in the back, and I was correct. So Snorlax is able to bait out the Azure right now, which is really, really good. So Obstagoon doesn't have to see it. I could also Wind Switch here if I want to allow my Obstagoon to get aligned with the Abomasnow. And in hindsight, I think that's what I should have done. I should have an Ice Beam there because I really want to either burn their last shield or Wind Switch. Over farming, but they make such a nice play and they deny all this energy that I farmed. I didn't want to give up my final shield there. I'm able to get my Obstagoon aligned onto this Abomasnow. Very nice aggressive play by my opponent. Gonna throw this Night Slash. They still have the Azumarill that has some stored energy, but it's very low. No boost. I really want to be able to farm this down, so I'll shield here. I still have no idea what's in the back, but my Crest is still pretty healthy. It's Cast Form, and then they switch into Azumarill. I make a huge mistake here. I make a huge mistake. I totally throw this game. I should have just thrown the Night Slash on the Azumarill right there, because I have to throw energy here. And then what you're going to see is all I'm doing is just giving this Cast Form free farm. And Cast Form wins CMP against my Obstagoon. And so unfortunately, I totally butchered the end of this game. I should have just stayed in with my Obstagoon, thrown a Night Slash on the Azumarill, and then continued to chip away at this Cast Form and put it into Grass Knot range. So unfortunately, I did throw that game pretty hard. But I think this team is a lot of fun and does have a lot of play. It covers Crest's weaknesses. But man, I definitely made some misplays and my opponents played very, very well. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.